$40. And that means the additional $2 of that option's value, which can't be intrinsic value, then must be extrinsic value. So those are the two types of values that an option has. Extrinsic value is mainly made up of volatility and time. Now, let's talk a little about calls here. We said that a call gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation, to purchase, to buy a specific security at a specified price by a specified time. That means that if I have the right to buy something, I have the right to get long something. Hence, calls are known as a long instrument. When I buy a call, I become long. Why? Because I own the right to get long when I want to. Remember, if I exercise the rights that I'm given by owning a call, I am exercising the right to purchase the stock. And if I purchase the stock, I am creating a long position, a position that benefits with the increase in value of the underlying security. Now, it seems like that the call buyer is in really good position. They have the right to do something, but not the obligation. That means they are in the driver's seat. They control the action. They are the decision maker. Now, on the other side of the coin is the seller. Remember, an option is a contract between a buyer and a seller. So for every buyer of a call, there must be a seller of the call. And while the buyer of the call has the right but not the obligation, the seller of the call has no rights. The seller of the call is obligated. They must deliver the stock to the buyer of the call at the predetermined conditions of the contract. So remember when I said I bought the 30 strike call, that's the right to buy the stock at 30? Well, if I want to exercise that right, regardless of where the stock is, the seller of the call is obligated to fulfill the contract. And if I have the right to buy the stock, then the seller of the call is obligated to sell it to me. They must sell it to me. They don't have a choice. They have no rights. Why don't they have any rights? Because they sold that right. Remember, the seller is receiving money. That money is coming to him in lieu of him giving up his rights and holding on to the obligation. The seller of the option is being paid to be obligated. So you've got your buyer and you've got your seller. Please understand, there is no right and wrong here. There is no good or bad. There's simply a buyer and a seller. Sometimes conditions warrant being a buyer of options, spending money, laying money out to own the right but not the obligation. Other conditions warrant being the seller of the option, bringing money in, giving up your right, allowing yourself to be obligated to fulfill a contract for the price that you're bringing in. So don't get, too much into the good and bad. There's no right and wrong here. There's just the right thing at the right time. Sometimes it's the right thing to be a buyer. Other times it's the right thing to be the seller. It all depends on the situation, the opportunity you've identified, and what's currently going on in terms of the pricing in the options market. Now let's talk about the risk and reward scenario for a call buyer. The buyer of a call has an unlimited potential reward. When you own the call, your call will increase in value as the stock increases in value. And the further the stock goes up, the further your call value goes up. Stock goes to infinity, your call value is going right up with it. So you have an unlimited potential reward when you're the buyer of the call. The nice situation when you're a call buyer, and this is important for beginners, beginner investors getting into options, is that a call buyer has a limited risk. Where your reward is limitless, your risk is limited. You see, a call buyer can only lose the amount of money they spent buying the option. If you buy a call for $5, then the most you can lose is $5. Why? Because that $5 option can only go down to zero. It can't go any lower. No matter how far down the stock goes, once that option has no more value, it's over. So if you buy a call on a stock that's trading at $100 and the stock goes down and your call runs out of value when the stock drops down to 85, you're done. You've lost your $5. But the beauty is that it doesn't matter now where the stock goes. It could go down to 70. It can go down to 50. It can go down to 30. It can go down to 10, 5, 0. It doesn't matter. No matter how much further the stock goes down, it doesn't matter. Your option is now at zero. You only lost what you spent. So when people talk about risk management in the markets, what a risk management tool this is right here. A built-in risk management tool. I buy an option, I can only lose what I spent and no more. That's not true about stocks. That is not true about stocks. Call buyers have unlimited reward, limited risk. That means the call seller, the person on the opposite side of the trade, has to have the opposite. A call seller has an unlimited potential risk. If the buyer has an unlimited potential reward and they own the rights and you're stuck with the obligation, then that call buyer can ride that call to infinity and you're stuck with that. Now, obviously, in the options market, because the buyer and seller are actually separated after the deal, you can actually, as a call seller, buy that call back at any given time to limit your losses, even if the owner of the call doesn't want to sell it out. You have other market players to buy that call back from. So where you have an unlimited risk as a call seller, it doesn't mean that you can't take the position off easily whenever you want. Now, the call seller also has a limited reward. When you sell an option, the most you can gain is what you sold the option for. So when the call buyer bought an option at $5 and had only $5 of risk, you, the call seller, sold it to him at $5 and you only have a potential gain of $5. Why? Because the option can't go below zero. And once the option goes to zero, the $5 that you sold it for is now zero. You've collected all that. So the call seller has an unlimited risk and a limited reward. You might say to yourself, well, why would anybody want to be a call seller? Why? Because you are getting paid to make that sale.